Hi guys, this might be one of the most impromptu videos I've ever filmed, but I just had this idea and I got so excited to film it that I just decided to sit down and spontaneously film it. So I have gathered up my entire drugstore base and complexion collection, so everything all the way from primers to powders, setting sprays, foundation. I wanted to answer the question, if I were to blindly try this product without knowing anything about it, how much would I guess the product costs? A lot of times in beauty reviews you hear the phrase, this product is good for the price. I think that's a good distinction to make sometimes when it comes to affordable products, because some affordable products, yes, they're really good, but I would never blindly try it and think, oh, this must be $35. This must be a high-end product. But then there are the other phenomenal drugstore products that I totally would assume were high-end. So because there are a lot of products in this category, I think I have over 20 total, I'm gonna go kind of rapid fire, starting with the one primer that I have in the drugstore category, the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. If you gave this to me to try without knowing the brand, without knowing anything about it, other than just the texture and the performance of the product, this one's hard because I don't necessarily use it and think, wow, this feels so luxurious or anything, but it is just a workhorse and it does a good job. I would maybe guess that this was like $15, $15 to $20, but it's actually $10. So it does feel like at least $5 more expensive than it actually is. I hope I don't give these brands any ideas for like what they could charge for these things. Yeah, hopefully no brands are even gonna watch this. Probably not. I do have another drugstore primer, or it could be considered a primer. This is the Makeup Revolution Bright Light Glow Drops Multi-Use Drops. I would guess that this is like $8. And a lot of these things I don't know the actual price. I kind of want to guess the price without knowing it. This is $12. I guess it feels even a little bit cheaper than it actually is. Like it feels like an under $10 glowy primer to me. So that leads us right into the next one, which is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. So this I would consider more like a complexion product rather than a primer because it does have a little bit of coverage. Very luminous. I would say this is much more luminous even than the Revolution Glow Drops. You can kind of customize how glowy you want it to be based on how much you apply. I like to mix it with foundation. That's my favorite way to use it. This feels really nice to me. In fact, it feels just as nice as the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter. Other than the shades being different, it does feel pretty much identical to that one. So I would say this feels like a $30 product, and it actually costs $14, so it feels like double the cost of what it is. So these next two are both some of my most affordable foundations. First, we have the AOA Studio CC Cream. Most AOA products are like $1 to $2. I love that we still have a brand like that. I feel like they're kind of like what e.l.f. was 10-15 years ago. This is actually really nice. It looks amazing on my skin, definitely dewy, but just looks like skin. It really doesn't look like makeup. I would say it still feels like a drugstore product to me, but not in a bad way. I probably just wouldn't guess that this is like Charlotte Tilbury price or something. I would guess that this is $12. You know, I would guess that this is like a physician's formula type product. I think it's really good. And this is $1.88. The other AOA foundation I have is the A+ Buildable Satin Foundation. This is a solid buildable, literally what it says, buildable satin foundation. That's just exactly what it is. I love that type of foundation. Kind of reminds me of the ColourPop Pretty Fresh foundation. I think the ColourPop one is $16. I would guess that the AOA is like $10. But this is also $1.88. So both of them feel more expensive than they are, but they don't feel high-end either. Okay, I wanted to include this one even though I just tried it for the first time today. It's what I have on right now, and I'm also filming a wear test on this foundation today. But this is the CoverGirl Clean Invisible Foundation. This was actually my everyday foundation in high school, and so when I saw that they were relaunching it with a better shade range and slightly improved formula, I think it's now fragrance-free, and now in a squeeze tube rather than that awful glass bottle that didn't have a pump. It was just like you had to like pour it out. I loved that foundation in high school. It was like one of the only foundations I'd ever tried, but I loved it. I think I went through multiple bottles of it. So when I saw that they came out with this version, I was like, I have got to try that. So far, I mean, again, I've only had it on for like an hour now, but so far I am very impressed. I would guess that this was like a $25 foundation, but this actually costs $6.88, which is amazing. I love that they kept the price so low on this one. I said I was gonna go rapid fire, and here I am just running my mouth for so long on every product. I'm gonna speed it up. This is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh foundation, one of my all-time favorites. This feels totally high-end to me. I would guess that this was like a $30 foundation from like Urban Decay or something. This foundation retails for $16. So again, it feels like double the price of what it is. The CoverGirl Simply Ageless Skin Perfector Essence. This is an expensive one for the drugstore. I really do like this. It's grown on me a lot. I would say it feels like it's like $18. To me, this feels like the higher end of the drugstore price range, kind of like, you know, your more expensive L'Oreal, things like Pixie, like those brands that are kind of a little bit higher end of the drugstore. That's kind of what this feels like. Obviously, it being CoverGirl, I do think that the price is way too high. But if I were to blindly try this not knowing whether it was drugstore or high-end, I would probably guess that it was in like the high end of the drugstore kind of price. That's what this feels like. And this retails for, you actually can get it for $15.99 at Target and Walmart too. So if you're gonna get this, really try to get it at either of those. I would say the price actually feels accurate, even though I am still bummed that CoverGirl is raising their prices so much. But did make me all the more happy to see that they kept the price low on the Clean Invisible one. I think this is the last of my drugstore foundations, but this is another one of my favorite foundations. Haven't used it in a while, just because I've been focusing on others. It looks super separated, but it has been like that since I got it. Like all of the ones at the store, both stores I went to when I was buying this, they were all separated. And from what I read online, that just seems to be how they are. And the directions say shake bottle before each use, which is true. You do need to do that. But as long as you shake it, it's fine. I think it's just, you know, it just separates. But I don't think it means it's gone bad. This is an amazing full coverage foundation. It's satin matte, so it's not like completely matte where it's gonna look really dry on your skin. It's just like a soft skin-like matte. Wears really well. Yeah, this is a great one when I want a full coverage option. This totally feels higher end than it is. Physicians Formula is definitely not the cheapest drugstore brand, but to me, this totally feels like a $38 foundation. This foundation at full price retails for $15.99. For drugstore color correctors, I have three. First one is the Makeup Revolution Eye Bright Corrector. In this, I have the shade light to medium. This totally feels like the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. Very similar texture to that one. Not my personal favorite formula because it is very luminous and it just stays very tacky on the skin. So I don't love that, but at the same time, I can appreciate a really nice formula even if it's not the one for me. It is still very effective at brightening. It really bounces light off of your under eyes without being too light, which I think is really impressive. So I actually think this totally feels like the same price as the Becca one, whatever that is. I think that, what is that, like $35? The Becca and Smashbox Under Eye Corrector is $33. This one is $8. So to me, this feels like something that's 4 times as expensive as it is. Also, this comes with a metric ton of product, 0.28 ounces or 8 grams. That is so much. Like, this will last you forever. The next one here is the Milani Under Eye Brightener. This is the Conceal and Perfect in the shade Rose. It has one of those squeeze tubes with a sponge tip, so the cap does get super messy. I kind of wish they had made the cap opaque so that you wouldn't have to see just how messy it gets, but that's not a huge deal. I actually really like this one, not as much as my favorite, which we'll get to next, just because it doesn't have as much coverage as I would like it to have, but it is a very thin product, which is nice because then it feels like it's easier to layer with a concealer without everything being too thick. I appreciate that about it, and I also like that it's not super dewy. At the same time, it doesn't really feel high-end to me. I would guess that this is like $12. Yeah, this is $11, so it feels appropriately priced. My favorite that I was talking about is the NYX Pro Fix Stick Correcting Concealer in pink. It is so creamy while also being matte and blurring to the under eyes, so it's not really luminous like a lot of under eye correctors are, but that peachy pink shade does such a good job camouflaging those kind of bluey purple under eye circles. This is basically my dream under eye corrector. It absolutely feels like a $35 under eye corrector. Like, I would totally think that this was like Bare Minerals or something, but it actually costs $9, which blows my mind. I have 2 drugstore concealers. This is the NYX Bare With Me Serum Concealer, also my all-time favorite concealer. It's just the most skin-like under-eye concealer I have ever tried. It has a really nice, lightweight, almost like a gel feeling formula, but still really pigmented, and it gives solid medium coverage, which I think for the texture that it has is really impressive. Like any concealer, it's going to settle a little bit in defined lines, but it really doesn't settle in defined lines as much as other concealers do. It just looks beautiful on the under eyes. So this, to me, again, feels like a $30 concealer. This feels on par with like the Kosas concealer, but it actually costs only $12. The LA Girl Pro Conceal, this one on the other hand feels very drugstore to me, and it is drugstore, so I can't fault it for that, but to me it feels like a $5 or $6 concealer. Now, that's not to say it's bad though. I wear it frequently, actually, and I'm willing to use it up too. It has high medium coverage, a nice, not too shiny finish, which I like. The only thing is it can just look a little bit dry and heavy on the under eyes, and it doesn't necessarily wear very well. By the end of the day, it doesn't always look the greatest, so it feels like a $5 to $6 concealer, and that's exactly what it is. I think it's $5. $6. Okay, I guess they raised the price because it definitely used to be $5, but yeah, $6, that feels about right to me. I have 4 drugstore powders. Let's start with my favorite, which is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Loose Powder. I have 2 shades of this, light pink and light. I really like both. Light pink specifically for the under eyes, and then I'll use light on the rest of my face. This is such a luxurious feeling powder. In fact, I think I included this in a video about drugstore products that feel high-end, like maybe a year or 2 ago. I would say this feels like a $38 powder, but it's actually only $8. One that I like almost as much as the e.l.f. Halo Glow, this is the Makeup Revolution Translucent Baking Powder. The thing that this really has going for it is just how much you get. The thing that it has not going for it is the packaging. It doesn't have a good lid to dump it into, it just has this really small one, so you can either use that and only use it with really small brushes, which I guess you could do, you know, that's not that hard. But I just ended up decanting it into actually an empty e.l.f. container. But the powder inside is really, really nice. I don't bake, but I do like to set my under eyes with a powder puff, and it's great for that method specifically. It just looks really smooth. It does remind me of the e.l.f. Halo Glow, and this does come in quite a few shades, including like some banana shades. They should really come out with a pink one of these if they haven't already. I don't necessarily think it feels as expensive as the e.l.f. one for some reason. I would guess that this is maybe like $25. I would say it feels high-end, but not like super, super luxury. But it actually retails for the same price as the e.l.f. one, $8. Then we have the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder. To me, this does feel drugstore. There's just nothing that feels really high-end about this. I would say it feels like an $8 powder. It is $5, so yeah, it does feel a little bit nicer than $5. Then my favorite pressed powder is the CoverGirl Clean Fresh. Just love this so much. I wear the shade Fair in this. I would definitely assume that this was like $30, but it actually retails for $12, at least at Ulta. Other places I think it's a little bit less. Yeah, Target it's only $9. Ulta's prices a lot of times are like a couple dollars more than Target, Walmart. It's just, you know, something to be aware of. Okay, I have 4 drugstore setting sprays. 3 of them are from Makeup Revolution. I love Makeup Revolution's setting sprays. I have their Calming Makeup Fixing Spray, their Sport Fix, and their Infinite setting spray. They're each a little bit different from each other, but they all do a really good job at actually prolonging the wear of your makeup. I feel about the same about all of these. I would say they all feel like they're about $25 to $30. So it looks like the Infinite and the Calming are both $10 and the Sport Fix is $8. They definitely feel nicer than that to me. And the last setting spray here, I have decanted it into an empty Makeup Revolution bottle because, by the way, Makeup Revolution does a really good job with their sprayers typically. They're very consistent. They're not like the most fine mist ever. Like, I don't want you to get me wrong and think it's like a super fine mist, but it's just a nice even mist. It's not too aggressive. And even if I do get little droplets, they usually kind of just melt right in and they don't really mess up my makeup. The Flower Beauty setting spray, I decanted it into this because the sprayer on that one was just not good. It was just very weak and kind of inconsistent. It sort of gave like a continuous mist type of effect, but it was so inconsistent and sometimes it would let out these like really big droplets. If I tried to tap them out, it would just completely remove the makeup underneath. And if I let them dry, it also just didn't dry very nicely. So now that it's in a better bottle, I'm enjoying it more, but I still feel like that is a significant flaw of the setting spray is that if you do get too much in a spot, sometimes it does just mess up your makeup, whereas I never have that problem with Revolution setting sprays. Did I say what's in here? It's the Flower Beauty Seal the Deal Hydrating Setting Spray. This one I would say feels like about a $10 setting spray, and it retails for $15. So I guess that means I would say only pick this up if it's on sale for like half off. Then it might be worth it. But also be prepared to decant into a separate bottle if you have one. So let me know if you enjoyed this and if you would like for me to do other categories. I can also do the high-end version of this, and I also can do other categories of my collection. So let me know what you would be most interested in seeing next. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today. If you would like even more content from me, I do have a Patreon and a channel membership. You can join either one for $2 a month and you get extra vlogs, extra makeup videos. Would love to have you join us over there. If you do join, you'll get access to all of the past content on there as well. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And hopefully I will see you again very soon in my next video. Bye!